not just true in the physical, it is true in the spiritual. There is a gravity, there is a spiritual gravity in life. There is a spiritual gravity, and I don't mean a good kind. There is a gravity of things. There's a pull that things have, a gravity, just like in the natural. A weight, things pull you, and there's a weight to them. There's another thing that has gravity is problems have gravity. There's a problem, it draws you in, draws you, and then pulls you down. There's the gravity of temptation. Temptation pulls you. That thing pulls at you, and then if you give in, it drags you down. There's the gravity of the world. How many people know what it's like to have the weight of the world on your shoulders? That's gravity. Or the gravity of worrying. It's this thing, it's pulling you, it's tempting you to worry and get drawn in and sucked in, and your thoughts are just like going to it, and then you get pulled down. There's the gravity of gloom and depression and discouragement. That's a gravity. There's a gravity that is found in the past. Your past may have there's a force to it. It pulls you. It pulls you. And it reminds you, there's things from the past that try to pull you back, pull you to remember things, pull you down, saying this is what you have to do, and it pulls you. There's the gravity of guilt. A pull. Some of you are carrying burdens from the past. There's the gravity of the ego. It pulls you to go with it. And what happens? The more you get into the ego, the more it weights on you. The more it becomes a burden. There's the gravity of possessions. The more things you have, or the more you can be tempted to get attached to them. They draw you. And the problem is that as you get drawn, the more you have, the more it has you. And the more it weighs on you. There's the gravity of your reputation. Pulls you to do all these things, and it weighs on you. There's the gravity of sin. Pulls you and weighs on you. There's a gravity of habit. Some of you doing things, again, you don't want to do it, but you're fighting with it, but it's pulling you. You're getting pulled to the refrigerator, you're getting pulled to the television, you're getting pulled to the couch, you're getting pulled to do whatever, waste time, do whatever, whatever, procrastinate, whatever it is. There's a pull there. And there's a weight there. There's the gravity of the self. The self has its own weight. Pulls us down. Sin is heavy. But God said His burden is light. How? How is God's way light? How is God's way anti-gravity? See, we are to be light in our spirits. We are to be light in heart. Think about how much effort we try, especially in America, to be light. We try to lose weight all the time. We pay people to help us lose weight. Imagine that. So much of the world doesn't have enough food. We are paying people so they can help us stop eating. That's how much, and then we still, should I? It's up to you. You don't have to respond. How many people have been on diets? How many people have been off of diets? How many of the diets have worked to this day? Wow. What does that say? We're trying to get light, but the food pulls, and so, with all this, we think of weight loss. We try in the physical to get lighten up. But the problem is we're always thinking in terms of mass. We're not thinking in terms of gravity. Now let me give you unlock a spiritual secret. I don't think you can apply this, the refrigerator. This is spiritual. But how can you lighten up, with all this gravity? How many people have been to the planetarium in New York? And remember this one room where they have the weight scales, and you get on there, And, you go on to Venus, and wow, I'm only 70 pounds. Or, so you go to Mercury, I'm 50 pounds, whatever it is. Then you go on to Jupiter, and you're a few hundred pounds. Which tells you something. You're as heavy as what you dwell on. I like that, yeah. You're as heavy as what you dwell on. See, the world has a lot of gravity. It has a lot of things to weigh you down. The world is a very heavy place. It's got so much. And yet, if you ask, how much does the world weigh? Nothing. It floats. And it's amazing. For something so heavy, it floats. How many things float? A feather floats, a balloon floats, but the earth floats with all the weight that you have, right? All the weight of the world, and it floats. Why? The answer's in the Bible. Turn to, long before Newton and the apple, turn to Ephesians 2. Well, that apple. Ephesians 2. Ephesians 2 and verse 1. As for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins, in which you used to live, when you followed the ways of this world, or the course of this world, and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit that's now at work in those who are disobedient. All of us also lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our sinful nature, following the desires and thoughts, its desires. Like the rest, we were by nature objects of wrath, but because of His great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Messiah, even when we were dead in transgressions. It's by grace you've been saved. And He raised us up with Messiah and seated us with Him in the heavenly realms in Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus. All right. Once it says you walked according to the ways of this world. You are bound by the laws of this world. But then it says, but God who loved you in Messiah saved you, redeemed you, and He seated you where? In heavenly places. Now, when you go to heavenly places, that's what it says you're supposed to be seated. You're not supposed to be seated on earth. If you're seated on earth, you're in trouble. But seated in heavenly places is the life of the successful believer. Is the life of the overcoming believer. That's the key. When you are seated in the heavenly places, the world gets smaller. But something else happens. Gravity disappears. The higher up you go, the less gravity you have. That's the way it works. Remember the pictures of the spacewalks, walking out there, floating? Pictures of weightlessness, Have you ever wanted to be weightless, to just float around, Some of you are like that. You're kind of out there. You've been out there for a long time. We've been trying to get contact, but it's, you have your own mission, but